Hi, and welcome to Best in Tesla. So Volkswagen is in crisis. They are hitting the panic button. As Volkswagen is out saying once again, we are falling behind in terms of competitiveness. And they say they can no longer rule out plant closure and job cuts. The company is collapsing. But are they too big to fail or too big to even bail out? Because their track record shows us they are incapable of change, which is needed. So Volkswagen has added even more cost-cutting measures to trying to stay afloat. But the situation is looking more and more grim. So let's check it all out and let's dive right in. So Volkswagen is out saying they might have to close plants in Germany. A real no-no in Germany. So this really shows us how bad things are within Volkswagen. So Alex, that has been following the German car industry for decades and has been trying to wake them up to see what is happening, wrote this post on X. Volkswagen is the sick child of the German automotive industry, but the disease is spreading. The Volkswagen Group is not viable to survive in its current form, and the reason for this lies in the decades of completely misguided leadership of the management, the work council, the trade unions and the politicians from the Lower Saxony on the supervisory board, as well as the stakeholders of the Porsche Pierce family. Regardless of how large the Volkswagen cost-cutting program turns out to be, and how many employees they fire, and how many plants they are closing, the company remains structurally unsustainable in its current form. Yes, as Sandy Munro also once said, the hardest part to change in a company is its culture. And Volkswagen's culture is sick. They have become too full of themselves and such a huge tanker that they cannot turn, even though they can see the iceberg right in front of them. To give you an idea of how bad it is, remember all the way back in 2020 that Volkswagen had a crisis meeting called Mission T. That was how Volkswagen would catch up to Tesla. They gathered all the big brains inside Volkswagen to talk about this crisis they were in. What happened? Nothing. And 1 year later, in 2021, they held another crisis meeting, and this time Herbert Diess had invited Elon Musk to join as a speaker because Volkswagen need to learn from Tesla, as Tesla was able to make the great Tesla Model 3 in just 10 hours, and Volkswagen took 30 hours to make their inferior ID3. What happened? Nothing. Well, that is not entirely true. They of course fired Herbert Diess, that was pushing too hard towards EVs. Well, we can see BYD has become a bigger automaker in China than Volkswagen, pushing Volkswagen off their throne they have been sitting on for over 3 decades. Because BYD did what was needed. In March 2022, they cut off all their ICE car business and focused entirely on BEV and plug-in hybrids. They made the hard choice that was needed. This would of course be a lot more difficult for a big company like Volkswagen, but this is probably what is needed to succeed, as BYD is clearly evidence of. But anyway, after Tesla held their battery day, Volkswagen of course wanted to make the illusion that they were also making their own batteries and was on the same level as Tesla. But what happened? Nothing. They had planned for 6 battery factories, and so far we have seen 0. While Tesla is actually making their own 4680 cells and building a truck, the Cybertruck, which run on only their homegrown battery cell, the 4680. But not a single one of Volkswagen's 6 battery factories has yet been finalized or is even in production. Last year, Volkswagen cancelled the planned battery production in Lower Saxony in Germany as not feasible. So, Volkswagen has done a lot of talking through the last 4 years since they brought their first EV on their MEB platform to life. But they are doing nothing other than cut back on EV targets, cancel their battery project and delaying the Trinity platform by 7 years. So it does not come as a big surprise when Volkswagen announced they might have to close down plants and fire employees, because Volkswagen is in a desperate need to cut cost. And according to Handelsblatt, the core brand Volkswagen must save 2 to 3 billion euros in addition to the 10 billion euros saving program Volkswagen has already set in place. Volkswagen has therefore invited its managers to, yes you guessed it, another meeting in Isenbüttel at short notice to discuss these urgent saving measures and achieve the planned result for 2025. So another crisis meeting. Let's see if the same thing comes out of this one as all the other crisis meetings. Nothing. As Alex wrote on X. The sad part is not even that it is happening right in front of our eyes, but that if even I was able to predict it many years ago, why was the industry unable to see the inevitable and restructure, reform and innovate to prevent what is happening now? It's a story of hybris, ignorance, arrogance, denial and missed opportunities. Yes, Herbert saw what needed to be done, a quick transition to BEVs. But Volkswagen wouldn't hear about it and fired him. I think Volkswagen Board is suffering from paradigm paralysis. They can simply not see what is right in front of them, as it does not fit in to their view of the world. So if the board can't see the change that is needed, it will not happen fast, as culture is very hard to change in the first place. But if the board doesn't even see a change is necessary, well, no wonder their Trinity platform is pushed out 7 years. So, since they introduced their first EV platform, the MEB platform, Volkswagen will get their new platform, not just a little makeover of the MEB platform to MEB+, but a new generation platform, the Trinity platform. It will have taken Volkswagen about 12 years. For a company in crisis, they even acknowledge that BEVs are the future, as there is no alternative, as they said themselves, and have admitted multiple times now that they are no longer competitive. But it will take them 12 years to come out with a new EV platform. At least Toyota saw that their first BEV platform would never become profitable for them and immediately said that they would come up with a new EV platform. And Toyota is saying that they will have that one ready in 2026, and the BZ4X came out in 2021. So at least it seems like Toyota will be able to come up with a whole new BEV platform and a better BEV based off the Tesla Model Y they ripped apart in about 5 years. But for Volkswagen, it will take about 12 years. This is ridiculous. And this is from a company that has held multiple crisis meetings because they know what kind of trouble they're in if they don't change. But the company is simply just incapable of change. As our good friend Alex here also wrote on X. A fundamental reform will not take place due to the aforementioned stockholders. So I predict that Volkswagen will set up one cost-cutting program after another, and the company will continue to shrink without any change or prospect of survival. Volkswagen is too big to fail, but the state cannot finance it in the long term, and without massive cuts, any state support is money spent by taxpayers on unsustainable jobs. Yes, Volkswagen might be too big to fail, but they might also be too big to bail out, as Germany's economy is also under pressure at the moment. And don't forget that Volkswagen also have about $200 billion in debt. So this will be bad for both Volkswagen and Germany, as Volkswagen also seems to be too big to be able to change. So it seems like the company has no choice but close plants and lay off employees. And to put a little extra salt in the wound, on the same day Volkswagen announced that the job guarantee program that has been in place since 1994 is cancelled, Tesla has 41 new trainees starting at the Berlin factory, as Alex shared on X. But we are really starting to see the deep crisis Volkswagen is in, as their EVs are not selling as well as they hope, and they thought their brand would just save them, and their loyal customers would choose a Volkswagen branded EV over the many other EV brands. But we can see this is simply just not the case, like the Volkswagen ID bus that really illustrate the harsh situation the company finds itself in. Years ago, Volkswagen planned to deliver 130,000 units of the ID bus in 2025 because it looks so good and is Volkswagen heritage of the 70s. And here's what they have delivered in units so far. In all of 2023, 29,000. In the first half of 24, 14,500, so not growing at all. But I think Alex also explained it well in another post he did. After the big disappointment with the MEB and the ID product lineup, management decided to sell BEVs with a retro look to attract loyal Volkswagen customers with a great looking product from the past, but electric. I criticize this strategy because who cares if you get crappy software with a small, cheap screen, interior and poor efficiency if the vehicle looks good? No one. Volkswagen management completely lost touch with the customers many years ago, and the management believe that all is needed is a beautiful design from glorious days of the past, and the suppliers will do the rest. So marketing and great presentation and announcement will do the trick. What an epic miscalculation. You get the picture. Volkswagen is in big trouble, and if you ask me, the entire management deserve to be fired. Yes, a big mistake thinking the looks will sell you EVs. Fisker made the same mistake. As Elon said many years ago, before Fisker went bankrupt the first time.
Tesla is a really different company to Fisker. I mean, Tesla is a hardcore technology company, and we do really serious engineering. In the case of Fisker, was headed by Henrik Fisker, and he's a designer, so he's good at sort of the styling of the cars, but he thinks it's all about styling, and it's not. The reason we don't have electric cars is not for lack of styling.
Right.
Exactly. Customers want a car that delivers on all the important factors like range, charging, efficiency, safety, software experience, and if the car looks good, that's a great bonus, but if it lacks all the other stuff, it really doesn't matter. And Volkswagen has not gotten the software issue under control even here in 2024. I know we can all see some glitches in software now and then, but Volkswagen did delay their ID3 about a year from 2019 to 2020 because of the software issues that was in the car, and then they pushed the car out even before it was ready to not get emission fines, and there was a big scandal about this, and we even had a big national television show showing it here in Denmark as well, that I made a whole video about at the time, and we have seen countless of examples of people having trouble with the software ever since. But here is a recent one, as Harold wrote on LinkedIn: always software, software, software. Route planning, Volkswagen Europe navigation. Problematic when the sat-nav stopped working 100 kilometers before the destination. Navigation in the destination area was no longer possible. Diagnosis: Volkswagen need to install software update for the sat-nav. Cost 200 euros. Over-the-air update? Not possible. And on the screen here you can see it says no data available for this region. Wow. Seeing stuff like this, it becomes very clear why the Volkswagen Group is in crisis. So not only does the software stop working and he has to go to the workshop to get a software update here in 2024, but he also has to pay for it. I would have sold that car on the spot. Volkswagen is in crisis because they have uncompetitive products at an uncompetitive price. They need change, but that is the one thing they are incapable of, as their track record has shown us. But even the German government realized that the German automakers are in crisis with their EVs. As we see the first result, the German Minister of Economy Affairs, Habeck, as he announced that the tax break will be introduced to support the sales of BEVs. So they just ended the EV incentive in Germany in December last year, but they have probably seen the impact that had on their local EV sales. And as Habeck said, we are currently preparing further tax breaks for e-cars as part of a growing initiative, which will be discussed in the cabinet on Wednesday. So we might see a new BEV incentive coming to Germany at some point when the politicians are done talking about it. But Volkswagen is in deep crisis, as change is needed fast. Two things Volkswagen is incapable of: speed and change. And thank you for watching. And until next time, take care out there and be nice.